Might have overbrewed this a little. Good afternoon, my friends, both new and old. 2023 is officially over, and I hope you're all feeling excited about the new year. I know I am. So I wasn't sure what I wanted to read this December, as I wasn't particularly interested in anything Christmassy. So I picked up Jane Austen's Letters, which I've been curious about for quite some time. It's basically a collection of letters that she's written between the years 1796 and 1817. So the letters start at her age of 20 and end when she is 41, which was the year of her death. I had no idea whether it was going to be enjoyable, but it ended up being a very interesting insight into her everyday life, who she socialized with, who she danced with at balls, what were the latest fashion trends. It did change quite frequently, even back then. I could never have imagined how much I would enjoy reading about Jane Austen trying to figure out what fruits to adorn her hair with now that flowers were out of style. Another thing that I noticed in her letters was how imperfect she was. Which sounds like it should be obvious, but as a longtime fan of her books, I suppose we tend to put our idols on a pedestal. But she had insecurities just like anyone else, although mostly about whether her letters were interesting enough. She mentioned this a lot, actually, apologizing for short letters and saying how they must have been a boring read and things like that. Then she also had her moments of wittiness, which I very much enjoyed, such as, "I do not want people to be very agreeable, as it saves me the trouble of liking them a great deal." I mean, that must be the most relatable thing I've ever heard. And sometimes, particularly as she was younger and venturing into gossip territory, she appeared quite sharp-tongued, such as in this one. She appeared exactly as she did in September, with the same broad face, diamond bandeau, white shoes, pink husband, and fat neck. That's a rather harsh comment, if I may say so myself. But who knows, maybe the woman in question was known to be rude herself or something? We don't really know. That's what I find so interesting about these letters. They're like a time capsule, showing us a glimpse of a bygone era that isn't fictional. As a history buff, I live for things like this. Okay, Niles, you are demanding quite a lot today, aren't you? Before I started filming, he was sleeping soundly in his dog bed, and the moment I hit record, then he needs attention. So a few weeks ago, I visited a childhood friend of mine, and he showed me these antique etiquette books that he'd curated somehow. And as I was flipping through one of them, I found a treasure. It was a birthday card from 1938, which makes it seem like one of these etiquette books had been given as a birthday gift at some point. Or rather, in 1938. And had just been laying there inside this book for 85 years. My friend had no idea it was there either, so it was quite special. Quite the little discovery. Anyway, back to Jane. Also, Niles had to retire so that I could drink my tea in peace. There are plenty of signs in Jane's letters of her exceptional observational skills. The way she speaks of people, she can just predict if a match is going to be a happy or unhappy one, and she does it in a very matter-of-fact-like way. She can also describe a real-life person almost as though they were characters in her books. I found myself wondering quite a few times whether a certain person might have been the inspiration for a specific character, like in this example. "I am very much obliged to Mrs. Knight for such a proof of the interest she takes in me, and she may depend upon it that I will marry Mr. Papillon, whatever may be his reluctance or my own." So of course, this made me think of the various meddlesome characters from her books, and perhaps more specifically Mrs. Jennings from Sense and Sensibility. There are overall a lot of aspects from her letters that you can recognize in her books. The balls, of course, are very prominent, as well as all the travelling. Jane Austen's heroines often travelled around the country to visit friends and family, as did Jane herself. And I especially enjoyed the letters she wrote from Bath, as there are a lot of things happening there. Then there are other details that aren't as frequent in her books as they clearly were in her real life. For instance, she talks a lot in her letters about servants, which I found really interesting. As the servants were part of the household, they of course had a great effect on their employers' lives. And there's a funny comment in the letters about this actually. My mother looks forward with as much certainty as you can do to our keeping 2 maids. My father is the only one not in the secret. We plan having a steady cook and a young giddy housemaid, with a sedate, middle-aged man who is to undertake the double office of husband to the former and sweetheart to the latter. No children, of course, to be allowed on either side. I'm inclined to think that she's joking in the last part. It's difficult to tell in writing, but even in real life, I am terrible at detecting sarcasm and jokes. People always have to tell me. As you read on and Jane gets older, her sharp-tongued descriptions seem to have lessened somewhat. Comes with maturity, I guess. And she also reflects on her age, like in this example when she writes about a ball she had just attended. It was the same room in which we danced 15 years ago. I thought it all over, and in spite of the shame of being so much older, felt with thankfulness that I was quite as happy now as then. I loved this piece of reflection from her, and I often find myself thinking in a similar way. As you get older, you do get more nostalgic, and it feels natural to think of all the memories you've created over the years. And in December especially, because of all the family gatherings around Christmas and New Year's Eve. I'm very fond of December. I love baking Christmas treats, and not just for myself, but for my loved ones as well. And just snuggle up on the sofa and read after a day out in the cold. The coziness of the holiday season made Jane Austen's letters the perfect winter read for me, and I can highly recommend it. I have only shown a tiny glimpse of all the gems you'll find in there. Now, I know this video is not out in December 2023 as I had originally planned. I kept putting it off, partly because I had a lot on my plate, but also because I was waiting for snow. I really wanted some snow footage in this vlog, and it kept bothering me that I wasn't getting any. But eventually I realized that I couldn't wait forever, so here we are. And as a little end-of-year treat to anyone who's watched this channel for a while, I've compiled a few bloopers, or extras rather, from various videos that I've made, I believe going as far back as about a year. None of this footage made it into the final cuts of the respective videos, so it's all new. I really hope it will be at least somewhat enjoyable, otherwise I've just embarrassed myself for no reason. But before we start that, I just wanted to say thank you for 2023. I'm very happy with the work I put out throughout the year, and seeing reactions and comments from people has made it so much more fulfilling, so thank you. I hope you all had a wonderful Christmas, if you celebrate that, and had a happy New Year's Eve. Cheers everyone, and now let's roll the extras. Despite this awkward exchange, we cut to the very I cannot say cut and shot in the same sentence for some reason. It just becomes caught and shut. I swear I have a piece of dog hair on my eye and it tickles so much. I cannot stop eating these cookies. And I have to stop, because otherwise the battery will run out before I'm finished. Why is it that whenever I wear this hairstyle, it looks so cute in the mirror, but as soon as I get in front of the camera, I look so silly. Oh well. Shortly after this, Edmund comes to Portsmouth. Floating dog hair in the air. I'm letting my hair rest from using the hair straightener, and I have a feeling I'm going to regret this while editing. I see this bush on the monitor and it bothers me so much.